I was a single dad, and I brought the boys up on my own. I was led down a path that through another firefighter whose supposed uncle was involved in some investments. The way he explained it was I would get a return on my investment. It was a very delayed audit on the tax return the first year. Nothing had happened. My superannuation hadn't increased. Nothing had changed. It was exactly the same figure. I lost everything, lost all my super. 27 years of superannuation in the fire service, it was gone.
Hey, Paul, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Mate, had a bit of a look around online before we jumped on today, and I know we have a mutual acquaintance, let's just say. Maybe friends, too much of a strong word, but we'll see how we go. And mate, you've been a firefighter for many years. Mate, was it 25 odd or so? How many years were you a firefighter?
Yeah, around about 27 and a half with the Melbourne Fire Brigade. Started back in end of 88. So it's it's quite a while.
And only in Melbourne, or did you move around, or how's it?
Yeah, it was.
What was your career like?
Just in Melbourne, mate. Based in Melbourne. So it was actually then the Melbourne Fire Brigade, and now it's broadened. Now it's called Fire Rescue Victoria, which encompasses the CFA and everything. It's one big fire service. So I was actually in the original Melbourne Fire Brigade, which had a 120-year history, and unfortunately all that sort of like it's all lost now. It's become Fire Rescue Victoria. So yeah, spent all my time in Melbourne. Stationed at Windsor, which is one of the busiest stations in Melbourne. We had EMR, first responder. I was on the first course that did the first responder. Fire services now around Australia are starting to turn out to various calls and that sort of thing for first responder. And Melbourne was the first state in Australia to be responded to people who are having heart attacks or life-threatening injuries straight away with an ambulance.
And is it true that you initiated the inaugural firefighters calendar, or is that just as a furphy?
That's a good furphy. I like that one. Yeah, I think and I have not heard that before.
No ownership of that one, eh? So in 27 plus years, that's a long time, putting your life at risk. I mean, I guess it's not all beer and Skittles when you're in the fire brigade.
No, there's there's many times when you sort of question some of the jobs that you go to, and they're probably not really things that you talk about, especially with your family, a young family, or you can't sort of come back in and decompress and unload on them and let them know what happened. There's been some rough times.
And so you had a family at that time, like young kids they were, and how many kids did you have?
Yeah, 2 boys, 2 beautiful boys now that were just above my knee, and now they're well over my head.
It happens, doesn't it?
Oh, mate, I blinked and it was like, you're kidding. I looked up and I thought, God, they're 6'2", and look, but they were great times. I'd love to go back, and I wish I had that time again, to grow up with them. I was a single dad, and I brought the boys up on my own. I was lucky that I was able to work close to where the boys went to school, and it all worked.
And did they ever realise the seriousness of your job, or they just knew that it was Dad's going to work?
No, they knew. When they knew, they sort of grew up in the fire station, so they knew what was going on. And a couple of times we took them out on calls. Probably weren't supposed to, but we did, and that was great. So it gave them a greater understanding of what Dad did, hence they're not firemen today, and they've got, it's a good careers. But no, they knew. Yeah, they knew.
Yeah. A little boy's dream going on the big fire truck with Dad, right? I mean, it'd be pretty special.
Yeah, it was cool. It was really cool. We'd have sort of kids' nights they'd come and stay over at the station, and you'd have a night at the firehouse, and all the other kids and parents and stuff, they'd come over, and then they'd understand what it was like getting up and going out the door within 90 seconds. You're in and out the door, and then they started to realise, this is serious, and they don't get a lot of sleep.
Yeah, that's right. So did you, as a role, as a firefighter, did you ever go to calls and think, I'm putting my life on the line for these other people? I've got boys at home waiting for me to come back.
Not really, because that was a job, and when you turn up and to house fires or unit fires, you can hear the screams in people's voices, and you can hear people yelling, and they're telling you what's going on and who's in there and what you've got to do, and you've got an understanding straight away of what's going on. And so all that goes out the window, and it just becomes survival, and you've got to do your best to get the job done as quickly as possible and as safe as possible. So you just focus on what you got to do.
And what made you go to be a firefighter? Was it like you just love fire?
Yeah, it was actually, it's funny, I remember back in what was it, Ash Wednesday bushfires, and I was actually in Wood End at the time, and we were building a house or not me, but I was helping one of the guys build a house in Wood End, and we saw the little puff of smoke on the hill at Mount Macedon, and next thing you know, the next hour, the whole mountain was on fire, and I thought, how cool's that? And yeah. And I don't know, for some reason, I just decided to join. It was a job that gave you stability, and there was always something exciting every day. So you'd walk into work. It's not like a normal job. Today you've plugged me in, and you know exactly what your schedule is. There's no schedule. When you go to the fire brigade, you could be sitting there, and the next thing the bells will go off, and you're at a gun shop fire. Someone's, trying to, rob a gun shop, set fire to a gun shop. The next minute you're down the road rescuing a cat. The next thing you're giving someone full CPR. It's just, it's amazing. And that's why I really loved it, because of its diversity, and that's why I joined.
Rescuing a cat. It's almost like the cliche sort of, the side hustle as a firefighter, isn't it? But it sounds like it's a real thing.
Oh, it is. It actually is. Look, had a couple of times where it had to say to the owners, "You seriously want us to get up on the roof and get a cat?" If it got up there, it can get back down.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, dogs don't seem to have the same problem all the time, but I guess you still rescue some dogs. I don't know, but. Yeah. So after 27 plus years of that, I mean, was it time for a change? Why did you leave? Where to from there?
Yeah, look, this is a bit of the sad part of my couple of chapters in my book, but I was led down a path that through another firefighter whose supposed uncle was involved in some investments, building houses and things like that. And over probably about 4 or 5 years, around the time that I was organising a lot of, events and things like that, he sort of promised that I could make some good money, but I'd have to leave the fire brigade and transfer my super. So I thought long and hard about it, and had sort of 2, young boys, and I thought I was on my own, and I thought, why not have a go? And look, I stupidly did. I regret every day leaving the fire service. And I left, and then got caught up in this investment, and ended up I lost everything. Lost all my super. 27 years of superannuation in the fire service, and but that's that's the
okay. Well, that's just a disaster. So. Just let's break that down a little bit. You're introduced to someone. There was some advice floating around, whether it was from a licensed firm or not. I have no idea. Were they legitimate fracture planners?
No, they had no. I think it's called an AFSL.
Yes.
Yeah, and no, they hadn't. I didn't know at the time. They presented as if they did. Yeah, and the company was named, and you can Google them on the internet. That they owe $15-20 million. And the director, what he did was, yeah, he had all the money in one account, and he was the only person that could use all the monies that was in that account to do what he wanted. And in the end, the balance of probability happened, and it was trading insolvent. But now, as I've found out down the track, it was deliberate. And, unfortunately, I'm in the fight of my life to try and get my money back.
So what was the offer presented to you? Just so we can, relate to some other people that may be hearing this sort of stuff floating around. Was it invest in a fund, or was it to buy a property, or what was their sales speak?
Yeah, so the pitch to me was, and the director's name is, I mean, you're welcome to Google that. He's all over the internet. He presented it as an investment. So what you would do, I had to leave the fire service in order to access my superannuation. I put it into I had to open up a self-managed super fund.
Right. Okay. So I was going to jump in there. So because your super is in a government superannuation when you're at the fireys, right?
Yep.
You don't have a choice of abnormal investments, let's call it that, right? Or fringe investments. So you have to actually start a self-managed super fund. That's what they're saying.
Yeah, and that was under the direction of and his accountant, so which at the time I thought it was probably normal, and so I had to resign from the ESSS, Emergency Services Superannuation Scheme, open up an account, self-managed super funds through the accountant. And then once I had that, that was sort of when the sledgehammer came down, because then the accountant had told me to then transfer the money into this United. Actually, it was called, and I said the whole lot, and they said yeah, and I said you're kidding, like almost, half to $750,000 into that account. And yeah, but they just said leave it, a few $1,000s in there just for accounting fees.
Right. So the money's gone from the ESSS super fund. Yep. You've got it out of there, and you've put it into self-managed super fund in your control.
Yep.
Your fund, your own one. And then they've requested you pretty much dump the whole lot, call it 90+%, over into their account or their whatever they're doing.
Correct. And I wasn't.
And that's your whole life savings.
Yeah. Yeah. And as you can imagine, I was pretty sick. Then I was starting to feel sick because I'd resigned from a AAA position in the fire brigade. I could have quite easily have gone on now to being promoted to a higher rank. I've lost a lot of money, and at that time I thought, wow, what have I done? But I gave it faith and gave it a go, and naively went ahead, but I wasn't on my own. And there were, as it turned out, there's around about 58 other creditors involved.
Wow.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Did they do anything with that money that gave you any form of return, or did it just all go?
Well, strangely enough, look, I actually had said to the time, I said, what's the story now? How does this all work? And beforehand, the way he explained it was, I would get a return on my investment. So by me putting the money into the company, they would go and then do, some builds, houses and things like that. And my superannuation would remain the same figure. It would grow, obviously, but I would get a profit return on the investments that were coming in as well. So every now and again, I would get, I'd get some money come back into my personal account, not my superannuation, and it would come in as Project Advance. And I thought, why is it Project Advance? Oh, I must be doing some projects. So it was quite confusing. But when the time came, it was a very delayed audit on the tax return the first year. Nothing had happened. My superannuation hadn't increased. Nothing had changed. It was exactly the same figure. So when I questioned it, I rang the accountant and they said, "Oh, you need to ring," which I did. And then I sort of barreled him a bit, and then he patted it all down. And after about 45 minutes, give me the big spin, said everything's fine. And little did I know that there were, like I said, 57 other investors with the same thing. He was taking all their money.
And what did you think when you started getting money back into your personal account as opposed to your self-managed super fund? Did that red flag anything for you, or just thought that's how it happened?
I actually did. Initially, I thought that was how it happened, but because given the fact that it was almost a year before I'd even had a tax well, not even a tax return, but an audit on my self-managed super fund. I was just getting dribble feed every now and again in my personal account. So I just thought, oh, well, okay, obviously my super's going to go up. And what was promised was, 3-4 times my super. It's all fantastic. It's all glossy. Everything's great. It's very similar. In fact, our case, which is it's really sad, it's bigger than the Melissa Caddick case. We've got more creditors, except our director, he's still got both his feet.
They requested your personal bank account. They just said, "Can you give us those details so we can deposit in?" Like, all these details are provided by you as part of the process of the application or the ongoing, right?
Yeah. And I wasn't on my own. It was the same people as well, other people as well. Would send some money back, into your account every now and again. It would, I've struggled for work, which initially I didn't think I would, but I did. I struggled for work, and I still am now. I'm actually looking for work, and it's I'm sort of So what would happen was he would put the money back in, and you'd think, oh, okay, no worries, there's a little bit there that'll keep me, and it just sort of kept the faith going. But after 12 months, 18 months, there was something shonky going on, and I knew I was in trouble. Unfortunately, well, the accountant and his offside, they were all in on it. They were all in on. And now that we've found out through, a lot of investigation, and this goes back to 2017. So we're looking at quite a few years back now. It went into insolvency, rang me in April of 2017. He wouldn't answer my call for about 4 or 5 months. And then he rang me out of the blue and just said, I really apologise. I haven't been able to do what we wanted to do. And I asked him, where's my money? And he said, well, we haven't got it. And I said, where's my super? And he just said, oh, look, don't worry, you'll get a really big chunk back. And I said, what are you talking about? I said, where is it? What's going on? But having said that, now that was in April 2017. Back in 2016, the accountant and probably some other cronies up there, they were based in Gympie. Yeah.
Oh, right. So Queensland based.
Yeah, and so what happened was they all had a meeting, and I think it was probably in around about, I have to be corrected, either March or April of 2016. They changed the company, and they opened another company called. So they transferred all the funds out of those companies and put it in, which then made the other companies insolvent. So the accountant actually knew exactly what was going on. So we were actually insolvent. And then by surprise, called his liquidators in, voluntary liquidation, with a company from Toowoomba called, who he'd previously done some work with, and they'd actually liquidated a company or two from him before. And, it made out as if the company had gone into liquidation when the money was just slowly getting ferried out everywhere. It was gone.
Right. And when you transferred the money from your self-managed super fund over to them, were you getting units? Were you getting, like, as in trust units? Were you getting shares? Was it a loan to them? Or was it just an investment? What do they call that?
Yeah, well, that was probably the alarm bell that I probably should have listened to. More importantly than any fire brigade bell that I've ever been to. What he was doing was, after about 2 months, and I transferred the money, and you can imagine how nervous I was at the time, thinking my whole career and everything I've worked for. Then he sent me a document, and it was a loan. And I said, "What's this loan?" And he said, "Oh, it's just to cover us in future, just, And I said, "Well, this loan says that you're going to lend me back the money that I've lent you." I said, "Why would I give you the money? How does that work?" I said, "What?" So some lawyers drafted up a document that actually said a loan. So I'm actually, in effect, giving them my money, and they're loaning the money back to me. Which I couldn't work out.
That's bizarre.
Or actually, I'm loaning them the money, and they're paying it back to me. And I said, "Well, how does that work?" I said, "It's superannuation. You can't do that." And being naive at the time, I kept going along with it. And as I said, I wasn't on my own. There was a lot of other investors involved, and they did exactly the same thing.
And so the accountant was in on it. And did they have anyone else? Was there any other financial planners or anything? Was it just their organisation?
Yeah, just their organisation. It was, just the accountant. And there was twice that I called the accountant. And the first time I said, "What's going on? Why hasn't my super changed?" "Oh, you need to." Okay. I rang him, and then, as I said before, he settled it down after a little while. Then after the second year, it was exactly the same. But then on the audit report, there was someone else's name. And I thought, who's done the actual audit report? What is going on? So I rang up and said, "I want to find out what's going on. I'm going to get on a plane and come up and see you guys. I want to know what's going on." And, "You got to ring him." And the accountant said to me, "What he's doing is not right."
So their accountant was the first one to say that to you?
Yeah, well, she said to me. But the funny thing is, she said to me, what he's doing is not right, yet she's the accountant. And she knew all about the whole thing.
Right. And was her accountant doing your audit of your self-managed super fund, or did you have someone else separate for that stuff?
Yeah,
they were doing all
else. Now, who she is and what relationship is with the accountant, I don't know. But the auditor, surprisingly enough, won't answer emails, calls, all that sort of stuff. They've gone in and they've changed their name. So they've disappeared after all this went down.
Right. And just if we go right back to the start, they told you to set up a self-managed super fund. Did they do the setup of that as well?
Yep. Yeah, they did that.
Right. Okay.
They did that, yeah.
So then all those pieces together, they've essentially set it up. They've told you to do it. They've set it up. They're now doing the books for it. Let's just put it in layman's terms, the audit and whatever you want to call it. And they're the ones feeding information back to you. At what point did you go, okay, this is not good?
Well, after the first year, I knew it wasn't good. And I kept asking, I'd like to, to pull my money out. And I kept at him and at him, and he kept saying, no, you everything's going to be fine. It's all going really well. There's this, and this, and he kept saying it was going to be fine. So after the first year, it leads, the years go quickly. The next thing you know, you're up to 2 years, and it just got away. The time just got away.
What were you feeling at the time? Because this is your whole career's life savings handed over to someone, and now you're not getting any response on anything. Like, where did that put you physically, emotionally, and mentally?
Yeah, look, it's a really good question. I, at the time, probably didn't realise how bad it was going to be, probably both physical and mentally. But luckily enough, I'm not that sort of person that, you know, I mean, I get on with it, and I just pick up the pieces and get on every day. But as you can imagine, I had to find another job. And from that moment that I left the fire service, look, I've struggled. I've really struggled. You know, I'm in a huge ocean and I'm just doing dog paddle every day. That's pretty much the best way to do it. And, you know, I don't have any, I've got no savings. There's been many times when I've had to ask friends embarrassingly for help. And I've worked and paid it back and that sort of thing. But yeah, you know, it's been pretty tough. But you know, you just press on and do the best you can.
And what got you through it, and what's getting you through it? Because it's not done, right? So what's keeping you going?
I feel like, you know, that, like I said about the book, there's more chapters in the book to come. And, you know, if I've organised things in the past, events and things like this before, and I've lived a good life, and I look around in the streets and some of the people sleeping on the streets, I keep thinking to myself, I'm healthy, I'm active, I keep myself reasonably fit, and I'm a happy sort of a guy. Some good is going to come to me if I keep chipping away, and I don't give up. That was probably one thing that my father taught me: never give up. So when you put all those things into a bowl, it just makes me keep going, and I hope that, you know, some good will come out of everything, and I'm hoping that, you know, it won't be too far away. And also too, you know, probably part of the nature of being a firefighter, with all the 58 people that are involved, I'm the instigator and I'm the driver of trying to help them get all their money back. So I look forward to, hopefully in the near future, getting all those people together in a big room and sharing a glass of champagne, and you know, hopefully we get a return on our investment.
Yeah, that's good. Those other people, were they mainly firefighters or emergency service workers?
Well, as it turns out, there's around about 15 Qantas flight attendants. There's a police officer. I'm the only firefighter. There's lots of mums and dads who, you know, vulnerable people, and that's how they
everyday Aussies, right?
Everyday Aussies, yep. Yeah, I speak to. There's a lady in WA and her husband. They're not retired. Well, they are. They're, you know, early 70s, you know, mid 70s. They've got nothing. They live on a weekly pension, week to week. And these people who took their money were desperate, and they just went at any lengths to try and take the money off them. There was one particular thing I'll share with you. I think it was actually their son, the lady I just mentioned in WA. He was killed in a motorcycle accident, and pestered them for the life insurance money. This is unbelievable. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that's disgusting.
Yeah, and they kept Adam. They didn't give it to them.
Good,
but and this kid was a young kid. There was a guy that he's not very well. He's got some cancer and he lives in Cairns. Now, he was actually a postie, and he used to deliver the mail to, which is the other partner.
Right.
And of course, he's a bit of a silver tongue, and he's the crook. He's the one he's the recruiter who got all the money or recruited all the Qantas flight attendants, because he himself was a Qantas flight attendant, telling everyone how fantastic the scheme was. This is awesome. You're going to make heaps of money. Biggest bullshit artist you've ever heard in your life. Yeah. Anyway, he coerced the postie into giving him his life savings. I think he had 90,000 or something like
Who sells to your postie? Like, seriously, that's insane.
I know. It's unbelievable. And then what he did was, the postie in itself, he does all Christmas functions. So he's a kind-hearted man. He dresses up as Santa Claus at Christmas. and helps all the local community. Well, he got him to come and do a private one at his place and have a big party and all the rest of it, for Christmas. So here's this poor guy, Santa Claus, volunteer work. He's got no money. He accessed his account. He got him to, just give us all the details. We'll do it. Yeah, no problem. Give us power of attorney and we'll sign it off. Yeah.
That's insane. That is just, makes me so angry. All right. So what would you have done differently? Knowing what you know now, what would you do differently in terms of looking at an investment opportunity?
Well, definitely stay in the fire service for one. What would I do? I would get sound advice, not from one accountant, but, certainly, 2 or 3 opinions to make sure that every step you make is the correct one. You only have to put one foot wrong in this world and, you're really struggling. It's really easy for that to happen. So get very sound advice from creditable people, not just fly-by-night people or friends of friends that know somebody. They'll be able to give you advice. Go to a reputable firm and, and get proper advice.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Well, let's change gears briefly because obviously your career of helping others branched out to a global impact, and you're involved in some organising some memorial service things for the firefighters and the emergency service workers for the 9/11 debacle. Tell us a bit about that and what brought that about and what impact you were able to have here and in the US.
Yeah, that was a great time. So it was funny. Originally, what I did was I was lucky enough in the fire service. We had a relay run in '91, and we ran around Australia non-stop to raise money for cystic fibrosis, and it was just a great way to see, our fantastic country. So I always had the bug in me, and I was a runner, and I thought, what a great way to see the place. So, yeah, I'd organised quite a few runs, before the American run. But yeah, the American run, yeah, look, it was a time, I suppose, when the world stopped and looked, and I think, we've all heard that cliche. We all know where we are when certain things happen in life, and
yep.
And I was I was at a local pub and saw it all happen, and I just felt I knew what was happening at the time when all the firemen were going up the buildings, and they were going into the danger, and people were trying to get out. So when they collapsed, it was just like it took my breath away, and strangely enough, we all ended up back at the fire station. We were on shift the next day, but stayed up all night watching all the telecasts and went straight into work the next morning or early, and everyone was sitting there. There was an eerie feeling at the station. I remember I was at South Melbourne at the time, and probably, 15 guys or more sitting around watching all the highlights and the newscast that was coming through. But look, I wanted to sort of, I suppose, organising the run across America in 2010 was something to say that we hadn't forgotten as firefighters, but as Australians, we hadn't forgotten what had happened. And, in a world today where we live and we walk around in uncertainty with, people carrying backpacks and, machetes and whatever.
Yeah.
You've got to be on guard. And to me, that was, if something like that can happen over in America, it can happen here. And they've been a great ally to us. We've been a great ally to America. So I just thought, look, what a great way to show the people, probably of New York, but even America, that the Australians, we care about what happened,
Yes.
and it's built in our nature as firefighters to show camaraderie and things like that, and so that's what we did. We ran across America and remembered 9/11.
And that's what this photo behind me is on from, right? This is you and the old Johnny Howard over there. This was at the end of the event, was it?
Yeah, that was the end of the run. That was the morning of September the 11th. And I think just behind my picture there's the Australian Consul General at the time, Phil Scanlon, and some dignitaries from the FDMY fire department. But yeah, that morning it was incredible. We finished probably around about 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, and we designed the run to come across the three bridges, BMW, Washington, Manhattan, Brooklyn, BMW. So we ran across the Washington Bridge, the Manhattan Bridge, and then we come across the Brooklyn Bridge, which was fantastic. And that particular morning, 3 days before when we finished, you couldn't see New York from Brooklyn because of the fog and because of the weather. It was that bad. I remember at the time when we were coming across the bridge, and there was the commissioner at the time, Sal Casano, came running up to me through the back of the crowd that were coming across the bridge, and he said to me, "Can you believe how good a day it is?" And I said, "Yeah, it's good. It's a great day." And he said, "No." He said, 3 days, the last 3 or 4 days, we haven't been able to see New York. And he said, this day is exactly the same day as 9/11. And I said, I knew it would be. We've been looked after all the way.
Huh.
So we finished in Battery Park opposite. Yeah, it was terrific.
Well, I don't know about what you think now, but you don't look like a guy who's just run from LA, mate. I mean, did you actually run, or did you just like take a Harley or something?
Yeah, look, when you're an organizer, you you get in when you can. In fact, I'll tell you what, that photo there behind you, I hadn't slept for nearly 2 days, and that's true. Coming in from Washington, it was incredible because you got to make sure everything's right, and people want to talk to you, and you've got to coordinate. It's a bit of work, but I enjoyed it. I really loved it.
Yeah, I hear you going back for seconds. You're going to go and do it again?
Yeah, well, we actually did the run in 2010, and then 2 years later did a cycle. It was actually a cycle from San Diego. We started on top of the USS Midway, and at the time the ambassador to Australia, Kim Beazley, came down from Washington. So we had firefighter, police, and military from Australia and America, and we rode together across the country and finished again on the Intrepid in New York, which was fantastic. So we did the run and then the ride, the cycle, and there's been obviously I've left the fire service now, but I still have close links with the fire service. But we're looking, next year is actually the 25th anniversary of 9/11. Can you believe it's been 25 years?
Yeah, it's crazy, hey?
Yeah, so next year we're looking at this will be the first time this will be mentioned, but we're going to do a Harley ride across the states, and then finish in New York, for the 25th anniversary. And I think that'll just about do it.
Mate, the Harley ride would be more fun for me than the jog, let me tell you.
Well, you're welcome to join us. We're going to kick off. We're actually kicking off in Sturgis, a big festival there, and one of the this is going to be fantastic. It's exciting, but a friend of mine at the golf club, he's lead singer in a band called the Screaming Eagles,
right.
And they're taking the Australian band, across the states, and we'll play not every night, but most nights at each of the Harley Davidson dealerships around the country. and then end up in New York. So, from a musical side of thing and from an Australian, involvement, the band will be travelling as well, and we'll have firefighters, police, and we'll invite all the fireys and police officers from America to join us along the way. So you can imagine this. There'll be quite a rumble going along the road.
Yeah, sure will. It'll just be a great event. I can't wait to see it come out.
Yeah.
Well, Paul, mate, thanks for chatting with us today. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate your openness and your candor of both your career and your money journey and decisions and adventures and misadventures. The story is, I really hope we'll be able to help other people when they come to make those big life-changing money decisions that is important to us all. So, mate, thank you very much.
Oh, no, great. Thanks for your time. I appreciate you giving me the time to tell my story.
Mate, I look forward to the next calendar.
Look out. It's coming.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks.
See you, mate.
Bye-bye.